Hi, my name is Tidiso Ramkunupi and you're watching Expressions. Today I'm going to be your street journal. Come with me as I interview people about the SONA, Zuma and Ramaphosa. Are you as a young person pleased with Zuma's presidential legacy?
I'm happy with legacy of Zuma because of many people bawazile ukuthi bathole ama-ARVs.
Women empowerment, the introduction of the Ministry of Women in the presidency. That was really interesting, and it's the first field in the African continent. So we really commend President Zuma on that part. It's quite sad that the legacy that he left behind will be quite of a tarnished one. You know, with the whole state capture incidences that are still proceeding and going on at the moment with the court cases and the Guptas and currently proceeding in court.
He brought a lot of bad rep to this country because of like the way he ran this country and like all of the things that he did. Economically, like our country suffered a lot because of what he did.
I think South Africa is ready for change.
What are your expectations, or what do you think the outcome is going to be for today's SONA?
How are we going to see fit this year? How are we going to address the unemployment? How are we going to address the economic sector, most importantly?
That same deputy president who is the president today, the same man who defended Zuma for 9 years. So by saying we're happy with Ramaphosa, I don't understand that thing.
I feel like he's going to deliver and what he's going to say today, and I feel like he's going to put it into action.
And with that, we want to say Dumelang Sanbonani. Hello, South Africa. Welcome to Expressions on our new time slot every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Expressions is definitely the place for you to air your views. Can I host Elena Jacqueline Mapala?
I'm your host, Umqolisi Wagamasango, coming to you live this Tuesday evening. Jackie, it's the dawn of a new era. Now, South Africa has experienced a political tide this past week, saying Shopela Jackie, with the resignation of our former president, Ubaba O. Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma, to fast forward the swearing in of our new president, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa.
Yes, that is absolutely true. We live in interesting times. Change is on the way, and it includes the reform of the economy with young people at its core. This is according to the newly elected president, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address, which was delivered this past Friday. Today we ask you, Kohaye, are young people pleased with former President Jacob Zuma's legacy? Did you feel that SONA 2018 addressed challenges that you are facing as a young person in South Africa? But before we get into this also important conversation, I believe you, Mko, you actually were right there to experience the electrifying moments. Let's find out what you had in store for us. Take a look at this.
Ake muntu omusha njengoba wazi expressions ikhona kuphi nakuphi lapho khona abantu abasha. Well, njengoba sosibona sesifikile sithelekile phela eParliament lapho sizozwa khona inkulumo kaBaba uCyril Ramaphosa #his maiden speech as the president of the republic. Njengoba wazi ukuthi this has been a very long year for South Africans in terms of unemployment, in terms of education and so forth. So we're going to be finding out ukuthi kahle kahle ngabuthini about all these important key points that relate to abantu abasha. See expressions, so follow me.
Look, I think you have heard the president. The president has said that they are going to establish a youth working group so that he could be able to meet with young people, make sure that there is alignment between government policies and the things that young people are expecting.
We are particularly excited about, for instance, the announcement of a job summit. And remember, you also touched on this free higher education issue to say how they are going to approach it. Obviously, there needs to be more engagements about how they can increase the criteria to make sure that more people can benefit from free higher education.
The issue of job creation is very key for young people in our country. As you know, with this 26 unemployment rate that SABC indicated last week, the majority of those people are young people who are languishing in poverty and unemployment in our township.
We know what the problems are. We don't need more summits, conferences and talk shops to tell us what they are. The National Development Plan, the High-Level Panel Report, so many others have told us what the problems are. What we need is immediate plans to solve them.
The President spoke about the Job Summit, which is going to sit very soon. We will be participating in the Job Summit to ensure that the resolutions of that favor young people.
We think that the President Ramaphosa was still in a brainstorming session. He has no concrete and clear plans. That is why out of the whole State of Nation address, he has got about 8 different commissions and conferences and summits.
And if you judge him on his words, I think he has made a great commitment to South Africans and given us a clear benchmark to judge him on, and that and of course starting a clean slate after a long time of an era of corruption and maladministration, high levels of unemployment, poverty and inequality. And the President has turned the page for all of us, and it is now incumbent on all of us to help him to help the country.
He also highlighted key areas of our concerns about corporate capture of the state, about corruption, and how he's going to deal with this particular area.
This conversation moves to studio. Besko Nasa.
So those were some of the sentiments shared from the 2018 SONA. To take this discussion further, I'm joined in studio by Matlala Setlalogile, who is a lecturer as well as a researcher in politics at the University of Johannesburg. And I'm also joined by Musa Shabangu, who is a branch chairperson in Orange Farm, and he is representing COSAS. Gentlemen, welcome to Expressions.
Thanks.
There's definitely a lot to unpack, I'm looking forward to that. And of course, if you're wondering what's happened to Mkolisi is manning our social media corner, and he's going to bring some of your insight and perspectives. But that is happening a little bit later on the show. But we're going to get straight into this discussion. Musa, let me start with you. We heard some of the sentiments that were shared by young people around the legacy of former President Jacob Zuma. And I just want to find out from you, do you feel that the legacy is representative of what the ANC stands for? Did he actually fulfill the mandate that was placed on him?
No, thanks for inviting me in the show. Regarding your question, I'm really glad that you've asked that question, because we feel that as young people, Zuma, the former president, Mr. Jacob Zuma, was not respected regarding the way he was removed in the office. But we are glad to say this, that the former president has tried by all means to assist in terms of championing the classroom struggle and championing, as he has pronounced, the free higher education.
Yes.
Yes.
But I mean, we also know that there were other issues outside of just what he pronounced in terms of free education. There's issues around corruption, there's issues around state capture, and I think some of the sentiments came across from young people regarding some of those issues. But Musa, Matlala, excuse me, I want to bring you into the conversation. I mean, we want to unpack SONA. I mean, there were some key issues that were discussed. I think President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke around the issues of employment tax incentives as a way to mitigate the issues around unemployment. I mean, there were also issues around the youth employment service. And it was interesting that one of the politicians was saying that we've had enough commissions. You know, we already know what the problem is. You know what I mean? So why are we still now going back to the drawing board as if, you know, these are problems that are new? What is your sentiments around SONA?
Thanks, Jacqueline. With the issue of talk shops, as I think as Stenhazen highlighted on the issue, one thing that the SONA highlighted is constructive stakeholder engagement. I think the vision of the new president is to go back to all relevant stakeholders and devise solutions together to the challenges. Stakeholder engagement in previous administration has not been the greatest. And in terms of the entire SONA itself, we've had the new president, Mr. Ramaphosa, put the youth at the center of economic development in the country. He has made it very clear that whatever happens in terms of economic growth, in terms of job creation, which are very much interlinked, the youth must be at the center of that. And
I guess there's the issue of practicality with things like that. And I think obviously right at the core of trying to develop, build, and and grow our economy is the issue of education. Education is literally at the center of young people's ability to be able to become economically active citizens of our country. And I just want to find out from you, in terms of what he was able to touch on. I mean, he said it very clearly that the free education agenda is going to move forward. I mean, are you confident that he will be able to deliver?
I'm not that confident enough, but for the sake of uniting the country, I try to give the new president in terms of making sure that free education is accomplished. Because remember, as young people, our generational clarion call is academic excellence. So we won't forsake that just because there was a political corrosion inside the governance and electing and removing. You see, so we won't compromise education regarding those issues. Yes.
And look, right at the core of this whole entire discussion will be the appointment of new ministers in key portfolios. But I think we'll discuss that a little bit after the break. Stay with us. Umkolisi is on the flip side of this. You're watching Expressions.
I guess you're still watching Expressions, your hashtag #1 youth current affairs show. Namhlanje we're discussing the political affairs of South Africa. We ask, are young people pleased with former President Zuma's legacy? And did SONA 2018 address the challenges faced by abantu abasha bala eMzansi? I'm now joined by a bright spark, Tumelo Lekwene, a young entrepreneur as well as a social commentator. Did I say your name right?
You didn't actually. It's Boipelo.
Yeah. See?
I'll forgive you.
Yes. But anyway, welcome to Expressions. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Did SONA 2018 address some of your concerns as well as, put a good precursor to the year? As a young person?
I think that's a good question because you made it all about me, so I can be selfish and just talk about myself.
Go ahead, it's your platform.
So I'm happy about the SONA. Overall, it was a good SONA. I have my apprehensions, of course, but for instance, I'm happy that, for instance, the president spoke about the early childhood development, which was great. I don't remember having a president talk about that. And he also spoke about a social service summit. I know it's one of the number of summits that he's gonna have. So those are the things that I'm very happy about. He spoke about local production in textile and in the furniture industry. I think that's gonna create a lot of employment, and yeah.
So when we look at the possibility of getting free education, because that was also addressed, some first years will be getting free education, will be rolled out. What do you think? Is this goal optimistic?
It's optimistic, but it's very necessary. So we look forward to hearing what the Minister of Finance will say as far as allocating the funds there. And I hope and pray very well that the youth out there will go out there and take advantage of that announcement. It's
so Tabanguti budget speech, the finance minister has got a very huge task ahead of him. At the backdrop of that, siyabuza ke ukuthi abantu abasha ngahle baqabanga ngibone emakhaya about ilegacy eshiwe ubaba o President Jacob Zuma. What would you say about that? What do you think about that legacy?
His time in office is a very contentious one. We can speak about the successes. Other people say he's done a good job, and other people don't think so. And we can still argue that those successes, for instance, could have happened on the backdrop of the corruption that we are seeing now. For instance, I can tell you about load shedding. It was with Jacob Zuma that load shedding was eradicated. But we can equally see that Brian Molefe is having to pay back the money like our president. So it's contentious. So we can argue differently about the matter.
Okay, at the back of that, let's quickly find out what people have to say on social media. Okwanele Oti. Firstly, I'd like to welcome you to your new time slot. Thank you, sir. To answer your question, I think President Ramaphosa said everything we wanted to hear from him. It's just a matter of putting money where his mouth is. Sbusiso, you're nodding there, nice. Sbusiso says the ANC changes the person that reads the state of the nation and the whole country goes bananas. Like, really? I see the plan, I'm just waiting for the actions. Nozipo says he really tried indeed. It says not really pleased how he announced the availability of free education was not in a good manner. Those are things we should have said from the start of his term, not when his time was up for him. I'm sure he's referring to, of course, his predecessor. Yes, 2018 SONA gave us hope. I believe changes will be made by President Ramaphosa. Nangu Gubito wako uti, I'm not easily convinced with the shenanigans. Cyril Ramaphosa says what should be done is to wait and see if he will take his words to action. Angola says Zuma was a good man no matter what he did wrong. He did but a lot of right as well. We have seen, I'm sure that's what it really means. So would you agree with that? Because currently abantu abasha eMzansi are battling with so many things such as unemployment. Would you say there's a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel?
There is a glimmer of hope, and as you can see with the comments here, a lot of them are talking about action, because the speech was beautiful. He said all the beautiful things that everyone wanted to hear, and we are looking. We'll give him a chance and we'll see him get to work, but we will be there looking to critique when he falls, when he misses the mark.
No, yes, Gizwe, some of my panelists there saying they were a bit skeptical that there was a new sheriff in town. Perhaps we should address that. You know, it's been lingering at the back of my mind.
On that issue, there is a new sheriff in town, but we are not easily convinced that he is going to bring change. But at some point, as I've said before, for uniting the country and making sure that the economy of the country is stable, we are going to give Mr. President Cyril Ramaphosa a chance so that he can prove to us that he can champion the issues that young people are facing. For an example, regarding the issue of the reshuffle that he is going to make. As COSAS, we are very clear that Mr. President must make it a point that he removes the Minister of Basic Education, which is Mrs. Njimotsecha, because Njimotsecha has failed dismally to make sure that the issues of young people are heard. Yes.
Well, interesting take there. And of course, now Muntomusha Lapekaya, you can still interact with us on our Facebook page as well as on Twitter. We also live streaming this show as it is on YouTube, so check it out. We are there as Expressions. This conversation of dissection of SONA continues after this. This is Expressions.
Welcome back. You are still watching Expressions here on SABC1 in our new time slot, 9 o'clock every Tuesday. And the question that we are asking you in our poll question is, are young people pleased with former President Jacob Zuma's legacy? And do you feel as a young person that SONA 2018 addressed some of the challenges that you are facing in this country? And of course, I'm still with my guests and we're going to wrap up this conversation. But I think, Matlala, I just wanted to find out, I mean, there were a few goals and objectives and promises that I think, you know, President Cyril Ramaphosa made, especially around, you know, creating 1 million internships within three years. Do you think a goal like that is realistic, or are we going back to the pattern of starting strong and then ending up to a place where we're disappointed?
I think, Jack, before we even focus, is the goal realistic? We should look at internship themselves. I think there should never be a permanent solution. They're a stopgap measure. I think that's the first thing that we need to look at. And given the economic standing of the country currently, it will be very hard to achieve that, because I can tell you now the economic growth projections were at 1.1%, which were later revised by the World Bank and IMF to be less than 1% for this current year. However, given the confidence, at least the sentiment that investor confidence is on the rise, that economic growth, the performance might be amplified, and that might create a number of opportunities. But 1 million, I think, is too much of an ask still.
And I mean, in a country where we are looking at entrepreneurship as a solution to creating jobs in this country, I just wonder whether that is even the right path, or at least the right direction to take. You know, Musa, a lot of young people are listening to you as they're watching Expressions, and it doesn't seem like you have a lot of confidence in the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, which is concerning because you're a young person, you're representing a youth movement, and I just want to find out from you, what are the takeaways, especially when it comes to SONA 2018? When a young person is watching Expressions right now, what can they take away in terms of this new era, this new reign of President Ramaphosa?
If I could say this very clear, we are, as young people, as I'm leading in the structures of young people, they could have a take on giving President Cyril Ramaphosa a task in terms of implementing programs that will assist the young people in South Africa. Not only people who are in higher institution of learning, but also not forgetting the ones that are still at high school. Because now, as I've said earlier, I've spoken about the issue of reshufflement. The reason that we are having this campaign of saying Angie Motshekga must go is that, as I've said, Mrs. Angie have failed, but not that he has failed in terms of championing all the issues, but Mrs. Angie has failed in terms of the language policy. Surely you have seen previously the issue of overval, you see. So the minister was not vibrant and not visible. So our personal view as COSAS, we are saying if only they could appoint Mr. Panyaza Lusufi maybe to become the minister.
Oh, so that's your ideal candidate for it.
Because Mr. Panyaza Lusufi is always visible when there are cases of overval, those cases, the MEC of Gauteng is always visible, even if it cannot be Mr. Panyaza
So
Lusufi.
you're saying that he's far more active, and I think you're saying he represents best the interest of young people. Musa, it's like you want to say something. I'm going to give you 10 seconds just so we can wrap it up because we've run out of time.
Not a problem, Jack. I think my fellow panelist here misses the point that what happens in Gauteng, it's a provincial issue. And the fragmented nature of power in government does not allow Angie Motshekga to overstep the mark in certain issues, just like the overval issue. So you have to keep that in mind.
So it's not as simple as you're making it out to seem, where you have someone who's operating within such a small space having to go on a national landscape around coming up with solutions with basic education. Unfortunately, we've actually run out of time. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to Expressions.
Yeah, it's been very interesting, and I'm looking at the comments coming in right now. Abantabasha are very passionate about politics, Jackie.
Yes.
Well, at the back of that, Muntomusha, we always care to know what you would like us to discuss. This is your video diary.
My name is Lindy Wambata. In your next show, can you unpack gangsterism amongst young people in the townships? Is it a lifestyle, or they do it for security, like ukpapa nje or being naughty? Thank you.
Big topic, hey? Big topic. Looking forward to addressing that particular topic, right? And
I guess, Pindesbongege, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming through, as well as my guest on that other side. I can see our performer already warming up. Lady Brown is playing us with a smashing performance. We wish you a spectacular evening going forward. Good night.
Thank you for watching.
Sometimes